Brimwood Farm and to our Saturday night live stream, or it might be Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning, wherever in the world you are. So as normal, we're going to do a quick overview of the past week, a few updates to tell you about, some sad, some good, and then we will get on with our normal catch up and chat and frequently asked questions and question and answer and all of that. Now, if you're watching on the replay and you missed the live stream, hit the bell at the top of the screen. Is it the top or is it underneath the video? I'm never quite sure. But hit that bell and then it means you will be notified next time we go live. It's normally a Saturday around 10 p.m. GMT, but it's not every Saturday, so you'll be notified if you're watching on the replay. So let's get on with what happened this week. So we had a chicken check-in this week. So on Wednesday, we left the UK and we went to California to see Marina, the passionate gardener, and her 3 hens. She's got 3 Orpingtons. They're all ladies, obviously, and it was really, really great to see them, especially because Marina got those chicks on her channel. So I'd been following her channel already, and then Marina got those chicks, and we followed them through, and then she caught us up to date, and she showed us those 3 beautiful henny pennies in sunny California. So make sure you go across and you watch that chicken check-in, and you check out The Passionate Gardener, which is Marina's channel. And then on Friday, so yesterday, God, only yesterday. So yesterday we had a little spring watch around the garden because, you know, it's dull and grey and very different to California over here. It's miserable at the moment, but there are signs of spring in the garden. I mean, I know it's January and I know I'm really hoping and pushing the boundary here because proper spring isn't going to be till April, but it's nice to see some things growing. So in that signs of spring video yesterday, we saw those snowdrops and signs of life with the heucheras and the pulmonaria and the honeysuckle starting to grow and some of the bulbs coming through. And it's just really, really nice to see everything coming into life. Today has been quite busy. You might remember those seedlings that I sowed a few weeks ago, the dill and the coriander and the sweet peas. I've potted all of those on, so I've got about 40 plants each of dill and coriander, and I've also got about 15 sweet peas, so that's really good. There is a really, really good video on dill and coriander on Charles Dowding's channel, so go across and take a look at that, and that gives you a whole beginning from sowing all the way through to harvesting, which is really great, and I'm kind of following his method with that. Just a few notices to keep you up, to get you up to date with from this past week. So we have some good stuff, and we have, I'm just looking down at my notes, we have some good stuff, and we have some bad stuff. So let's start with the bad. If you've been on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you will know that I had another fox attack. So I think it was Monday night. I was woken about 3:30 in the morning by screeching hens. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I jumped up, and I can tell you, trying to get dressed at 3:30 a.m. With enough clothes so that you can run down the garden in the middle of the winter is quite difficult. So I was running around the garden in my underwear, ran down, and the fox, I had barricaded the bottom of the coop. So I've got one of these, you've probably seen it. It's where the silkies are and Barry and his ladies are. And it's one of those internet coops. They're all over the place. They've got the slanted roof, the nest box sticks off the back. And I barricaded all around the bottom with metal posts, driving them into the earth so that the fox couldn't get under. Well, the fox came in the top. So he must have been out there for some time, but he basically chewed his way right through the felted roof of the nest box. So I'm pretty gutted. I must quickly say though, of the 4 hens that were in there, he only got 1. He got Gertrude, which was our first ever silky hen, and you've seen her in many videos, and he got her, and he took her. But her 3 daughters, which are the toasty marshmallows that I'm line breeding, they raised the alarm and they got me down there. Now, if I hadn't got down there in time, I think Mr. Fox would have taken them all. But as it was, he literally just took Gertrude. And now I've mended the roof. I put a brand new roof on. It's all locked down, but I'm really paranoid. So the girls are all going out there in the day with Barry, but every night I'm now bringing them all in. I'm bringing the roosters in anyway, so what's 3 more hens? I just don't want to take any risks until maybe spring comes and there's more prey around for the foxes and they're not quite as darn hungry and coming into my garden, because that was not an easy prey for that fox. That fox had to be at that roof 4 hours, so that wasn't that easy. So he must have been really, really hungry. I'm slightly relieved that it was 1 hen and that the body was gone, because it meant there was nothing to see. I didn't have to deal with dead bodies everywhere. There were just a few silky feathers left. So that was sad. So that's the sad thing from this week and the ongoing problem with the fox. But there is some positivity as well. There is some good stuff. So for a death, there comes birth. And I checked the zebra finches today. I brought those 3 pairs inside, if you remember, and I paired them up. And I popped my finger in today into one of the nest boxes just to think, come on girls, lay some eggs. And I felt an egg. So I put the camera in and there are 3 eggs. So you will see on Smallholding Diaries tomorrow that there are eggs in the zebrafinch nest box. So this is the pair that is a grey pied male with a white hen. And then obviously Sunny also has eggs, and her eggs are due to hatch out tomorrow or Monday, depending on when she started to incubate. So she's got 4 eggs, so there should be some more budgie babies soon as well. And I also got my first Danver egg this week, so here it is. So obviously it's not my first ever Danver egg, but it's the first Danver egg of the year. So this is it. By comparison, this is a normal hen's egg. This is my little dinky Danver's egg. You can see it's quite small. And I'll show you the little quail egg as well. So the quails are laying like crazy at the moment. So the Danvers aren't laying enough for me to actually put them into the incubator. I need lots of eggs to put them in. This was, when did I get this? A few days ago, and I've had nothing more. The quails, however, are laying tons of eggs. So I am going to probably put a hatch on sooner than later. I was not going to do a hatch till the end of February, but they are laying so many eggs, and I've actually got so many people requesting eggs and chicks that I'm thinking of putting some quaily eggs in. So that is the update on what's going on the farm. So we've had death, we've got hopefully potential new birth, and we've got lots going on. So we're going to go into our normal relaxed chat and question session now. So let me just scroll back through the feed and see who's here, because you lot have been chatting away. So we've got Robert's Farm is here. Hello. Octopus Crime is here. Dabmaster, Secret Garden Homestead. Dan's here. Hello, Dan. Kat is here. Welcome, Kat. Kat's one of my Patreons, so it's nice to see you. Marina is here. Hi, Marina. So Marina is the Passionate Gardener. Check out her channel. She was the one that was on Chicken this past week. So go and check out her lovely ladies. Ross is here. Yorn is here. Who else have we got? Liz. Hello, Liz. Escaping the Matrix for Good is here. Got lots of people in tonight. Welcome. Those stinky foxes, indeed, Marina. I was absolutely gutted. And I kind of ran down the garden and I stopped as I turned the corner and I thought, do I want to see what I'm about to see? But luckily, nobody and 3 live chickens, so it wasn't so bad. But it was still bad because it was Gertrude. And Sard is especially cut up about it because it was the first chicken that he ever bought and ever wanted. So that was kind of sad as well. So let me just scroll down. Octopus Crime says, my rabbit thumps so loudly you can hear it from my room. What is it with animals in the house? They make such a racket. Such a racket. Escaping the Matrix for Good says, we're around the perimeter of the fence. The smell would deter the foxes. I have tried that. I don't want to get too intimate here, but yes, I've been collecting it in the morning when apparently it's most potent and putting it around. So I will continue to do that. We've had a lot of rain though, so it does wash away. Electric fencing is another way to go, and just trying to keep everybody safe. The layers flocks that go into the sheds at night, so the Danvers and the Silky Growers that are in one shed, and my laying flock, as you know, are right down the bottom in the shed. Those 2 sheds are completely locked up and secure at night, and I honestly don't think anything will get through. I need to touch some wood now. Touch wood just in case. Honestly, it would take a lot for them to get in. The daytime I'm still slightly worried about, which is why I'm going to get my guard goose, so that when I'm here... Now, lots of people have said about the guard goose, foxes still take geese, and yes, they do. They completely do. But what a goose does is makes a hell of a lot of noise. So my plan is, because I'm not on a big homestead where the fields are far away, because I'm in a little urban place with just a garden, when I'm here and I've got the chickens in the garden, if a fox arrives and there's a guard goose, the guard goose will start making a racket, and that racket may be just long enough to put the fox off a little bit and make him a little bit wary and alert me to the fact that something's wrong, so I can get the hell down there quickly. I'm still going to keep the girls shut in their sheds when I'm not here, because I just don't trust that a fox won't come in the daytime. Over the past couple of years, I have not seen a fox ever come in the daytime, and I have let my chickens out all day long. So I'd let them out in the morning, I would go off and do my things all day, I'd go out, and then I'd come back and I'd shut them up at night. But there is no clear look completely down my garden. Not only have I got sheds and things in the way, but it's also the house is like here, and the garden kind of skews off at an angle, so there's no clear line of sight. So I need something to alert me, and I think a guard goose will be good. And I also fancy a guard goose, because it's just something else to have, isn't it? Oh yeah, Roberts Farm says, I remember you said before you wouldn't sell it on Gumtree. Is there any reason you changed your mind? No, I don't think so. I think I just needed to put a few birds up, so that if you go on Gumtree, I've got a couple of Danver pullets on there. The main reason I don't like selling on Gumtree and sort of online where they come to your house is, on one side of me, I'm quite trusting of people that I know, but I am also worried about making your location known to people you've never met. So I'm not keen on people coming to my house to buy birds, because although the majority of people are completely trustworthy and on the line, there are unscrupulous people, and I've heard it in quite a lot of reports where people actually use Gumtree as a way to find out where people are selling chickens and selling cage and aviary birds in particular. And then they find out, they text you, they get your number, they get your address, and then they never show. And then 2 weeks later, you're burgled and all your birds are taken. That has happened quite a few times, especially in this area. I'm in Essex and the surrounding counties. So that's one reason. So I have put some zebra finches up there, and I have put some chickens up there, but I'm being very, very careful. I'm not telling people my address. And we'll just see. But that's generally why I don't like to sell online, and why I like to sell at auctions or go to actual shows and sell directly to people from from like a tabletop or from a little stall, because I think that's safer overall. And also, you don't have to worry so much about the biosecurity of people coming to your house, and you've got to then do lots of biosecurity, hand washing, foot dips and things like that. You don't have to worry about that if you're not selling on your premises. So that's the answer to that question. Amir is here. Hello, Amir. Ross says, I'd like a few quails, but know little about keeping them. Do I have a video? Do I have a video about keeping them? I have a video about all the reasons why you should have them, but I don't think I actually have a video about keeping them. That's something I probably need to put together. In sort of the regards of my quail, I am about to take them out of the aviary because they have just got disgustingly muddy this winter. So I've decided that I'm going to go into a cage system with the quail. The eggs, they keep trampling on the eggs, and I keep picking the eggs up and they're already dented before I even get to pick them up. And they're covered in mud and poop. And B, there's too many quail running around on the floor. So I think I'm going to go to a cage system. Not those horrible small little wire things, but I'm going to go to sort of a bigger cage system. I'm going to split my quails into maybe 3 colonies, and have them wire bottom so the poo and the debris can fall through for easy cleaning. But have like a little nest area for them. So I think I'm going to go to that method, and it will also mean that I can then clean out the aviary and get it ready for the pheasants. But Ross, I will have to do a video on actually how to keep them. Now, it's not very different to my chickens. At the moment, they get the same feed. So they get finch feed that is dropped from above, from where the finches are feeding, and they get the same as the chickens get. They get layers pellets, and they get some fermented grain too. So keeping them is very, very, very easy, really. You obviously you can't free range them because quail will just fly away. And this is the other thing that I found in the aviary. The aviary, quail when they're started fly straight up, and so you have to do this careful balance between making a cage so short that if they fly up, they are not going to crack their heads, and so tall that they will never reach that height. Now, my aviary is 6 foot tall, so they never fly up enough to break their necks, but you want to go above 4 feet, because 3-4 feet is kind of the area which they fly up to with speed, and if they fly straight up to there, they can damage themselves, they can break their necks, they can do damage to their head. So you want a low cage or you want a very high cage. Oh, and Robin. Hello, Robin. Robin just asked about what I feed my quail. So you can buy like a more of a game bird feed. So if you kept pheasants, for example, and you were buying sacks of game feed for pheasants, then that would be really, really good for quail. I just feed mine a mix of, as I just said, the drop finch seed, the layers pellets, and then because the aviary is planted, they also get to forage for insects and things like that. But the perfect thing would be like a gamey seed that you would feed to quail and pheasants, partridges and things like that. And then obviously mealworms, and if they've got in a planted habitat, they can look for insects as well. Kaiser is here. Hi, Kaiser. Kaiser asks, can I get a basic run through of caring for finches? I will make a video on it, Kaiser, because I haven't really probably got time to go through the whole process now. It is very simple, but it depends on the finch you want to keep as well, because some finches are going to need heat and some finches are very hardy. So I have zebra finches, they are extremely hardy and they really only need the basics, whereas things like Gordians and waxbills need a little more heat. So I'll do a video on it and we can run through some of the basics of how to keep them and how to get them into condition for breeding and things like that. Caro is here. Hello. I'm just going through the list. Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. Anna Williams is here. Hi, Anna. Ross is saying lion poo from the zoo is supposed to be good. Yes, I've heard that. Liz Zorab said that lion poo is very good as well. I need to check that out. Robert's Farm says, I've decided to start breeding guinea pigs just to get a bit more money for chicken feed. Also, where did you get the hutch you have inside? The hutch. Robert's Farm. Which hutch do you mean? I can't think of a hutch that I've got inside. Oh, or maybe you mean the large rabbit cage with the plastic bottom and the wire over the top. Caro Bun says, I'm new here, so welcome. I saw you own a big farm. Are you ever moving there, and how is the natural pond coming along? Yes, so the plan is to move there. At the moment, there is no property on the farm, so we have nowhere to live. So at the moment, we're basically earning a crust down here, trying to put funds together and living in this house and hopefully building up the equity in this house, as well as getting started with some of the Brimwood Farm stuff out the back to kind of raise money so that we can pick up and apply for planning permission and try and get a house on the land. That is the big aim, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it should be happening in the next 2 to 3 years. Part of it is also because my husband is Canadian and he's on a visa, and so he has to have certain requirements, income requirements for that visa, and so we don't want to quit our jobs and go up there and start afresh with no income. We need to be realistic and we need to strategize about it. So in the next 2 and 3 years we should be moving up there. The natural pond is coming along really, really well. I need to go up next month, so if I didn't go up in December and I haven't been up this month, February I will be going up again, and I will start doing some more chopping, and also some dredging out of the pond by hand. And I'm very excited that I'm going to go and start buying a few pond plants as well, so we can start to get some oxygen into that water. And I'm really excited to see it come together. I really want to get. I'm not going to be able to get the whole project done this year. It's just not feasible. It's far bigger than I'd ever imagined. But I am hoping that we can at least get the front section of that pond cleared, some pond plants in, and actually start the pond developing and bringing in the wildlife. So Patrick Jackson, hi Patrick. Foxes are starting to mate at this time of year, so all of us need to be extra careful with our chicks. Yes, I love foxes and when I get cool about when I treat them just as equally as any other animal. I love foxes as well, and foxes are doing what they're doing. And yes, they are mating as well, because crikey, they have been loud. The other night I looked out the window and there were two of them. I was going to say they were going at it. They were going at it, but not in that respect. They were on either ends of this tin roof, and they were yap, 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 yap. And they are beautiful. And down here in Essex, when I used to live in London, all the foxes you used to see were really mangy because they didn't get enough food. The population had been overbred, so you basically didn't get a nice looking fox. They were all sort of malnourished, scabby looking things. The foxes down here, where we're not in London anymore, so I'm still very urban, but there's a lot of countryside around me, and the foxes are in much, much, much better condition. And I think that's why until this year, I haven't had so many issues, because there is so much countryside. They can find numerous prey, but it's this year that it's been a bit of a problem. But they are lovely creatures, and I don't call for the destruction and the killing of foxes just because. We're the protectors of the animals, so we have to do everything we can to protect our animals from predators. That's how I feel. Octopus Crime is saying guard geese are just awesome. I hope they are. Kat is saying you sell on Gumtree. How do you find it? As I was just saying, it's okay. I am still very wary of people coming to the house, so I try not to sell on Gumtree. I've just got a load of baby zebra finches from last year at the moment that I'm trying to sell, but I am very cautious about advertising on Gumtree because, again, as I say, people come to your house, you don't know where they are, what they might be looking out for, and then there are the biosecurity concerns as well. Escaping the Matrix for Good says, I used to live in Essex. Whereabouts? I'd like to know. It's not that bad. I was actually born in Essex. I'm adopted, but I was born down in Southend. And then I was adopted and I went down to Dorset. Then I went up to Suffolk. Then I came back down to London to go to uni. And then I've ended up back in Essex. Not quite in Southend though, but I have ended up back in Essex. Hi Jim, welcome. Yes, you did catch it live. Welcome to the chat. I am quite a bit behind because I'm scrolling through all these messages. Yeah, so Robert's Farm is just saying, I never thought of people seeing my birds when they collect the birds they're buying and maybe then rob me. Generally, it's not the people that come and actually buy the birds. What you'll find is, you'll find somebody wants to come and buy your birds and you give them all the details and the prices and the time and your address and stuff. And then they flake out on you, you never see them. And they're the people that, because now they know your address and they know what you've been selling on Gumtree, and so that's what I get worried about. So I never give out my address now. I will give them a postcode, the first bit of the postcode, but I will never give out the door number, and I will never get out the end of the postcode until they're literally, if they text me when they're outside. And I also never take people down to the aviaries and the chickens. So if I know they're coming to buy a certain thing, I will have prepared those birds and brought them inside, so I won't take people outside. And again, that's good for biosecurity as well, unless of course you know the person really well, and it's fine for them to come back and forth and see your birds. But just strangers, just be wary. And it's the same with everything. Even if you're on a big homestead and people are coming to see your sheep, for instance, and those sheep that they're coming to see are maybe in the furthest field away from your house, again, you want to be wary, because if there's access to those sheep and they're the furthest field away and the people are being a bit sketchy, and then suddenly a week later your sheep are rustled, So it's, you know, it is a scary, daunting thing. I would love to live in a you know, a time when we didn't have to think about this, but sadly it's the way it goes sometimes. I'm just scrolling. Amir is saying, do you separate the male quail, as I've heard they can get quite aggressive with each other? Before I started keeping Coturnix quail, I'd heard that too. I keep tons. They're all in the aviary together. I've probably got 10 hens and 3 or 4 cockbirds. They don't fight at all. I think it's because the ratio to cocks and hens is quite high, so there are a lot of hens. So the boys never really have to clash because there's plenty of hens to go round. If you had, say, a quintet, so you had 5, 3 hens and 2 cockerels, you might find that then they would start to clash because there's not enough hen to keep them occupied. But I haven't ever found an issue with it, to be honest. But Coturnix are very domesticated and very kind of chilled out. If you stray into some of the more other types of quail, California quail and things like that, they might be a little bit different. I haven't kept any of those yet. I did keep, well, as you know, I've got Chinese painted quail and they're 3 boys and they're all in together and they're fine as well. But if I added a hen, that might be a different story. Kat is saying, how much do you sell your quail eggs for? So I've just put my prices up. So I went online, basically. I went online and I looked at all the supermarkets. So I now sell 12 for £3. And I will raise the price or drop the price depending. But I tend to go by the fact that mine are organic. Now I can't sell them also or as organic. I can sell them as farm fresh. So mine are fresh, totally fresh eggs. And they're kind of a small business. So you're supporting a small business by buying them. So I make sure that any customer knows they're farm fresh, they're good welfare, and you're supporting a small business. And then I kind of compare it to places online. So online supermarkets and stuff, I just look at the stores and I see how much they're selling for. And I kind of find a middle medium. With hen eggs, I go way above because chicken eggs just sell ridiculously low. I was in a supermarket the other day, they were selling 12 for £1.09, which that's just ridiculous. What is the quality of the birds if you can sell 12 eggs for £1.09? I don't get it. So I sell mine for 6 for £1.50, but it varies all over the country. So you'll need to do a little bit of market research. But yeah, I've just put them up so they're £3 for 12 now. And that's for eating eggs, that's not for the hatching eggs. So Robert's Farm is asking what's happening with bird flu. As yet, nothing more has happened. So we're still in a, I was about to say lockdown. We are not in a lockdown. We're still in a prevention flu zone. Prevention zone? Yeah, prevention zone. And I know that Wales is now as well. So we are in a preventive zone, but that still means your birds can all go outside. Just means you've got to take safety measures, feeding and giving them waters inside, keeping the area as clean as possible, using disinfectant, so hand wipes and disinfectant on your feet, and trying to use a set piece of clothing to go down and sort your hens out with. But they can all still come outside, and as yet they've not found any in commercial flocks, so we're safe for the moment. But as I say, winter is still a long way. There's still a lot to go, so we might still go into a lockdown at some point. But they will want to avoid that if possible, just because the government revolves around making money, and if they put hens and chickens into lockdown, then all those big commercial companies suffer. So they're going to try and I would expect they will try and keep it open for as long as physically possible. Escaping the Matrix for Good is saying, what county is your farm in? It's in Suffolk, so it's right on the border of Suffolk and Norfolk. It's a very nice little place, and it's really well connected as well. So although it's kind of out of the way, it's surrounded by main roads, so it's kind of in the perfect position. Escaping the Matrix. So you're in Suffolk as well? Yeah, so the land is in Suffolk. Thank you, Cara. So Caro just said, wish you and your husband the best of luck. We'll be sure to follow you along the way. I hope you can. This is my dream, and I really hope that I'm going to be able to share with you the plan of the farm and it all coming together. And I've just noticed that Marina has given me a super chat. Thank you so much, Marina. Thank you. This is my first ever super chat. $20 comes up on my screen. It's £14. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All the super chat stuff, as with all the stuff from Patreon and things like that, all this, basically all the funds I kind of generate from this channel are going towards the farm. So with Kara's question there and her best of luck, hopefully it will all be going towards building that house and getting that farm going. And I hope that I can bring all of you along, because it should be a crazy big but fun journey, like building a house, starting a farm from complete scratch. Like, obviously we have the land, but farming, going from this garden to a farm, is going to be incredible and a massive learning curve, and it'd be really fun to do it with all of you as well. So thank you, Marina, and thank you for that question. Let me scroll down. Hi, Susie, welcome to the chat. She says, came in late. If you spoke about the finch, I'll catch up later. We haven't really spoken about finch. All I said was I updated a little bit. I found 3 eggs today. So we have some little zebra finch eggs. I have filmed it. It will be on Smallholding Diaries tomorrow. But feel free to ask some questions and I'll try and get to it. There was also another question about basic finch care, and I'm going to make a video on that because it's kind of a lot to think about within one live stream, so I will think about doing that, a video specifically on that in the future. So Kat is saying, can you say they're from organically fed birds? I feed mine organically. You can't. You have to be organic certified to say that. You also can't say they're free range, because you have to be free range certified. So, but what you can say is farm fresh. So I sell them as farm fresh eggs, because I think people then get the idea. And then when you talk to your customers, you can say to your customers, oh yeah, I feed them, they are fed organically, and you can say to people, oh yes, they are, I allow them out and they range around the garden as much as possible, but you can't actually sell them or label them as that. Secret Garden Homestead said maybe putting some foliage at the top of the quail cages might stop them flying up and getting hurt. It would certainly create a little bit of a barrier for sure. So, but I would still advise, if you're going into quail for the first time, either keep them in shorter cages so when they do fly they can't hit their heads, or go for a 5-6 foot flight like an aviary, which mine is, where you walk in, because they can't get that high. And I haven't had any injuries at all, but that does work. And when I kept my Chinese painted quail in smaller cages, they are notorious for jumping up. And I actually put some bubble wrap. I'm just looking at it right here. I put some bubble wrap across the top, so when they jumped up, they banged into the bubble wrap, and they were perfectly safe. I've just scrolled down and got to Marina's super chat, so thank you so much. It's great, isn't it? It's a good orange colour. So she says, we will support you because you are awesome. And you are too. I love it. I love our community. I think we're really supportive of each other. And you can see that from the channels working together and the collabs and the ideas flowing back and forth. And I just think it's brilliant. Robert's Farm says, I may raise the price of my eggs as I sell 6 for £1. My customers may not be happy though. Yeah, it differs all across the country. So because I'm close to London, I can get away, because there's more, there's affluent areas in London where I sell a lot of my eggs. I can get away with a higher price. I know some people up north, they can only get away with £1 per 6. And I know I don't know where they came from, but some people sell them for as much as £2. So it's kind of that balancing act between your customer base and how much you think they're gonna be willing to pay. Escaping the Matrix for Good says, we are near to Woodbridge, Suffolk. It's a lovely place. So I went to school in Woodbridge, so I know it very well. I used to live in... Most of you are not going to know what I'm talking about, but Escaping the Matrix will, because they live around there. So I grew up, I grew up in Dorset, and then we moved to Clopton, and then we moved to Ipswich. So I went to school in Grundisburg, and then Woodbridge, and then into Ipswich. And I have a very good friend who has a small holding just outside of Woodbridge. And the farm is about 45 minutes drive from Woodbridge, but I do know the area very well. It's beautiful around there. Fringe Dweller says, you inspire me so much and I'm going to be getting quail thanks to you. Yay! The quail revolution. I'm really, really excited, Fringe Dweller. That's great. And if you've got any questions, shoot some questions across to me if you need any help. I really think quail are fabulous, as you can probably tell from that video. I think they are amazing. So I'm really glad. And I've heard a lot of people lately that are getting these quail. And they are brilliant. Anna Williams says, well, Jeff, a huge good luck for the new house and the farm. I desperately want it. And it's the thing is, for you that are new to the channel, it's not just any farm either. It was my granddad's farm, and it was my great granddad's farm. So my granddad moved to that farm when he was 8, and that was in 1916, I think. And he herded the family's pigs along the roads to get onto there. So if I go back, I'm going to be like the 4th generation farming it. So my great-grandfather bought the land, and my grandfather then farmed the land until he was in his late 80s. And literally, he farmed it really up until almost when he died. He literally went to a hospice for about 8 weeks. But up till that point, he was still on the farm doing stuff. Skip my dad's generation. My dad went off to be a vicar, Church of England vicar, and now it's kind of circled back around to me. So not only do I really want to be a smallholder and a farmer on that land, but it also has huge nostalgic value and meaning to me. And that's many of the reasons why I'm getting certain livestock as well, because I remember it from my nan and my granddad. So you know, lots of people use guard animals like alpacas. They have become really, really popular over in the UK. But we're going to have donkeys, because we always used to have Jasper and Josie, and every year they would have a foal, and that was just how the farm worked. And another reason why I love Muscovy ducks so much is because my granddad always had Muscovies, so I desperately want Muscovy ducks. So I'm really excited to get there, and I think that comes across when I do the vlogs up there, but I'm really desperate to get up there now, but you know, I have to just hold myself back a little bit. Patrick says, my quail have flown and landed on house roofs, and that's my cotonex. I know, I did lose one the other day. When was it? Well, it wasn't the other day. It was just before Christmas. And I think it was the young hens that I'd had inside, and I was taking them outside, and I was holding her, and she flew straight on my hand, straight up onto the roof, and I thought, oh, blimey, she's gone. So I couldn't even get to her. Luckily, she flew straight back down to the bottom of the garden, down to the greenhouse, and popped into some foliage. And I think she was so dazed at having to fly around the garden that she just sort of sat there, and I went and picked her up and put her in. But yeah, they are good flyers once they get going. Escaping the Matrix says she sells her eggs with the label raised the way nature intended. Brilliant. That is so good. I love that. Raised the way nature intended. Fantastic. Getting around all those rules and regulations, but that's a brilliant way of putting it. Octopus Crime says, I love this home-based farming. I don't sell anything, but my rabbit poop fertilizes the herbs, and I eat them, and the bunnies eat them, and the bees get the nectar. See? Circle of life. It's fantastic, isn't it? I really do want bunnies. I really want bunnies. And I was planning on bunnies this year, but I think there's a danger of doing too much. Especially when you've got a small space and just feeling like you've got too much on top of you. So I think I'm going to draw back on the bunnies. I'm going to do the pheasants, because the pheasants is obviously going into Brimwood Farm, the future of having the ornamental pheasantry. And the bunnies may have to be put on hold for now. But bunny poop is amazing, as you will have found out, because you don't have to do any of this rotting down of it like cow and horse and chicken. Bunny poop can just go straight into your beds, and there's such a good fertiliser. There's lots of Suffolk folk here. So Escaping the Matrix is very close to Woodbridge. Robert's Farm just says his grandma grew up in Suffolk. Octopus Crime is actually in Preston, so not that near Suffolk. Robert's Farm says, congratulations on so many views on your quail video. It's amazing, and I've watched it about 20 times. Thank you. It's gone crazy. I think when I last looked, it was up to about 80,000. 80,000 views. That's crazy. But I'm glad that people are watching it because I do love quail. So it's good that I can spread the love of quail and hopefully get a few people into quail. And quail are very handy if you've got a small space and if you need something quiet. I mean, they're not totally quiet. They do still crow, but they're not a chicken. And I think people have negative connotations with a chicken crow. As soon as they hear a cockerel, it sets off alarm bells. Whereas I think not many people know what a male Coturnix quail sounds like. And so actually, they might not even realise what it is. They might think it's a magpie or a jay. So I think, again, you can get away with not irritating neighbours as much with quail because they don't recognise the sound, so they don't instantly get their backs up about it. Octopus Crime says, would you keep ostrich or camels? Well, now you've got onto something. So actually, it's quite funny that you mentioned those two animals. So when I was growing up, across the road from my granddad's farm, there was an ostrich farm. So I don't know if I'd get ostriches because they set that farm up. It must have been like the mid-90s when the exotic meat was kind of this craze. And so they were farming ostrich meat. And they were big birds, crikey. But, it never really took off, did it? And I think the farm's shut down now. But yeah, so that's the ostriches and the camels. So there's two things about these camels. So the first is, in Suffolk, there is actually a camel farm. Now, they don't actually farm it. It's more of an attraction where you can go and you can ride camels and things like that. But it is not too many miles away from my land. So there's a possibility there. The other thing is, my husband, although he's Canadian, actually hails from Saudi Arabia. And in Saudi Arabia, they drink camel milk. And camel milk, I haven't done tons of research on it, but I have watched a couple of documentaries. And camel milk is amazing in terms of its probiotics and the proteins in it. And it's very, very healthy milk. And so, although I would be happy with a cow, Saad has this crazy dream of having milking camels. Now, camels cost about £15,000 each. And they also are classed as a dangerous animal, so you would have to have a dangerous animal license to keep them. And the males can be extremely dangerous when they are in their lust cycle. But the fact that there's this camel farm quite near has kind of word in my head, oh, well, we could have, a couple of, I don't even know what a female camel is called, a doe or something. You could have a couple of them, and then you could almost just rent out the male from the farm. But yeah, that's funny. So I would be happy with cows, but watch this space. I'm not one to turn something down. If camel milk became all the rage, might happen. Ross says, so what breed of quail should I get? Viva la revolution. I would start with Coturnix. Very simple, very easy to come by. Good size. Chinese painted quail are really just ornamental. And you can get the bigger, the Californian quail and the bob whites and things like that. But I find they're not more difficult to keep. They're just not as tame. I would start with Coturnix for sure, and then let the quail passion take over and get more and more and more. Amir says the plans with the tree planting are brilliant. Thank you, Amir. I've started potting up lots of trees from that donation from the subscriber. They're looking great. I just can't wait for them to all come into flower. Susie St. James says, saw a video recently on mini donkeys and they said the minis were too small to guard against coyotes in the area. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually, because coyotes aren't very small. I did see quite a funny video on I can't remember whether it was Facebook or YouTube, but it was a donkey a proper sized donkey attacking a fox. Wow, that fox didn't stand a chance. So definitely, I am thinking I'm going to go for donkeys, and also with the whole alpaca thing. There's the shearing, there's the hoof upkeep. They're difficult to shear. It's not like a sheep shearing to me, who has no experience, is difficult. But shearing an alpaca or a llama, that's really difficult. If you've ever seen it, they have to just kind of strap them right down. A donkey, you don't need shearing. You can go up to your donkey, you can pat it, give it a brush. Much, much easier in my opinion. So Fringe Dweller is saying, hi Jeff, I'm new to your channel and I absolutely love it. Thank you. Did you go to the National Poultry Show? I hope to go this year. I didn't go to the poultry show. I would love to go. The main reason I didn't go is because the week before I had been to Scotland and I'd driven there. So I'd taken an 11-hour car journey up, and I'm the only one that drives. So I drove all the way up, and then on the way back I drove for 13 hours. So then the thought of then driving from Essex back up to Stafford on a round trip for the next weekend was just too much for me. But I would really, really like to go. I've got a friend over in Wales who went this year, and he won so many rosettes. Very, very proud of him. And I would love to go and see those chickens, and also all those selling pens where you can actually buy birds, which would just, actually I might be broke. Maybe I should just leave the cards at home. But I would love to go. Anna is agreeing about the camels produce extremely healthy milk. Yeah, they really, really do. And it's just, I think it's probably only a matter of time before camel milk fad does hit, because it's, you know, the Middle East, they do dairy from their cows, but they also do a lot of camel milk. So I think it's only a matter of time before it spreads or becomes one of those fads. Robin is saying, since watching your video, I too am getting some quail. Yay! I love this. It's brilliant. Robert's Farm says, the only thing I'm worried about butchering quail is getting the bones off the meat, because I'm quite particular about that. I just don't want any bones. And also, can you pluck quail and gut? So I know there's a few people that probably won't want to talk about gutting and butchering birds, but I'll very quickly discuss it very quickly. So you don't pluck quail because it just takes far too long. You just skin them. It's very, very simple, and there are lots of brilliant videos on YouTube on how to do that. The majority of the bones are actually relatively easy. If you do the skinning process, the majority of the bones are relatively easy to pull out. So you can you skin them, you cut up either side of the backbone, you pull the backbone out, and basically all the guts and stuff come with it. I don't like to cook, as you know, so Sard does all the cooking. But when Sard's cooked the quail, there really haven't been many bones in it. So I found it quite good, in fact, and I haven't found it too difficult. I thought it might be too bony. Some of you are going to hate me for this, but when I was in Peru, I ate guinea pig. That is bony. Boy, oh boy, you don't want to eat guinea pig, because picking out all those bones is a nightmare. Susie St. James says, maybe the camel farm may provide you with milk. Possibly. I mean, I was thinking probably more about selling camel milk as part of a business, but they might well. We haven't yet been to the camel farm, so I need to go up there and take a look. Thomas is here, and Thomas says, hi, any tips on growing spuds? Spuds are fairly easy to grow. I would just say, I haven't grown spuds in a few years. My main tip with the spuds is, if you haven't got much room, do them in barrels, because it totally works. You don't have to do the whole earthing up in long rows with spuds. You can grow enough for a family in several barrels. You can go to, there's lots of cheap stores, you know, like the £1 stores, the bargain stores, and they sell those really cheap plastic bins. And you can, if you get a couple of those, they will happily do many, many potatoes in. And just earthing up. Earthing up is the main thing to keep that. The dog just fell off the couch. Just keep as many potatoes underneath and it proliferating as much as you can, because if you don't earth it up, you get just a few little potatoes at the bottom and a big, huge green stem, whereas actually you want to earth it up, and then the stem will make more roots and then more tubers. Liz is saying donkey hair is less soft when made into a jumper. Well, I hadn't thought of making it into a jumper. Where is the National Poultry Show this year? Is from Kat. I think is up north. Is it Stafford? Stafford International Exhibition Centre? I think it's somewhere like that. Octopus Crime is saying, any experiences with partridges like the grey, brown, black Franklins? I have no experience with partridges at all. I would love to in the future, and I would love to actually work with a couple of the trusts up in Suffolk in getting wild partridges back onto the land. I think we may have some on the farm. Last time I was there was a big flock of little birds, not little, little birds that took off. They weren't pheasant, so they may well have been partridge, but they went so quick. I didn't have binoculars, so I didn't have a chance to see them. But in terms of keeping, I haven't got any experience in that at all yet. Anna Williams says, how many quail for a beginner? I would start, well, depends what you want. If you want to breed them, obviously you need your boys. If you want eggs, I would start with like 4 or 5 and try and get a ratio of, if you've got 4, 1 boy, 3 hens. If you've got 5, you could get away with 3 hens and 2 boys. Never just do one girl and 1 boy, because those boys are virile little things and they will keep going and they can do real damage to one single hen. They will just harass her, they'll pluck her head. It's horrible. So make sure you get your ratio right. Way more hens than roosters. So at least 1 rooster, 3 hens. So it'll be so start off with 4 or 5, I would, and 4 or 5 will give you plenty of eggs. And then if you want to go into the whole breeding thing for meat, then you can expand your flock as necessary. Liz is saying, I'm getting quail eggs in a week or so. Yay! And Marina, I am proud. So Marina says, I butchered my first chicken last week. I was very proud of myself. That is amazing. Well done. You know, butchering is not easy, especially when you come to it brand new. And, you know, I've been doing it for years and I still don't particularly like it. And I don't think I'm particularly brilliant at it. So that is amazing. Really well done. And she says, oh, no, it wasn't my buffalo pigeon. I'm glad. It would be sad to have done chicken with your buffalo pigeons and then find out that one of them, Penelope, for instance, ended up on your kitchen board, your kitchen chopping board. So Kat asked, do quail go broody? I have never had a quail go broody, but I have heard they do. Now, some people, it's all how you keep them. So normally you'll keep them in a setup with maybe wire bottoms or a run or whatever. And in those cases, they don't tend to go broody. If you then, however, if you revert them back to kind of their natural instinct, so you have a run, a well-planted run with grass and plants and things in it, and you have a pair, because in the wild they will pair up. It will be. That's the dog falling off the couch again. You'll have a pair, so they will properly mate and incubate eggs. If you do that and you have large runs of grass and stuff, then they will go broody. But they need a kind of a high insect diet, and they need to be really a naturalistic setting. And I know some people that have done that, and they have managed to get the quail hens not only to go broody, to actually sit and hatch out their own babies and then look after them, which is great. And that's something I would love to try when I've got more land, just to try it out really and see how it works. Liz is saying, oh, she's replying to us, giving the messages. I'm getting them from Jeff, so whatever he can to spare. Yes, so I'm sending Liz some quail eggs. So you will soon see quailies popping up on Liz's channel, and they will be from me. So let's hope they better be good and they better hatch well. I'm gonna put it on a hatch next week, possibly even tomorrow. So we'll test the fertility. Oh, Telford, there we go. So Liz, so it's not Stafford. The National Poultry Show is in Telford. Yes, it's the Telford International Exhibition Centre, I think. Good night, Roberts Farm. I probably missed you already, but good night, and thank you for popping along. Kat says, up north, I don't want to drive that far. It is a long way. I think for me, it's about a 3.5 hour journey. And because I've got the dog, if I didn't have the dogs, I could leave the chickens overnight. We could stay in a hotel, but because we've got the dog, can't do that. So it would be like a 6-hour round trip. And there would also be the 6-hour round trip with me being completely frenetically excited while I was at the show. So I would probably end up with a really massive migraine, having to drive all the way home. So I don't know I do want to go, but it's just, I need to do some planning. AJ, hi AJ. So AJ has just popped in. He says, sorry I'm late. That's fine, AJ. It's nice to see you. Patrick says you can register with a grey partridge conservation group to reintroduce in an area. It's basically just buying hatching eggs and you raise and release. Yes, that's what I need to really find out more about it. I did go onto a website to find out about it, but they started talking about partridge habitat and hectare areas that you need, and don't introduce more birds if there's already birds on the land. And so I really need to sit down and work out whether we have got pairs on the land already, and if we have, obviously we don't want to be introducing more birds because that will displace birds from their current habitat. So I need to sort that out, but that is something I would love to do in line with all the kinds of conservation work that we're doing on the farm, with introducing the owl boxes and the wildflower meadow and everything like that. So getting some partridges on the land, if they're not already there, would be kind of a top priority. Thomas says, sorry, last question. Don't be sorry, you can ask all you want. I asked you last week, but I forgot what you said, how to maintain an orchid. They are hard. Yeah, they are hard, but I treat mine mean, really mean. So orchids don't like to be moved. So obviously, when you first buy an orchid, that orchid is under mega stress. It's already in flower. So when a plant is in flower, it's actually trying to procreate. So it's not in its happiest phase anyway. It's come from a heated greenhouse where it's been grown. It's gone into the shops and it's sat on a shelf, and then you brought it home to use. So orchids, when you buy them, are normally pretty stressed. So when they do first lose that flower, the flowers drop off, and you just cut that flower stem back to like 1 or 2 nodes above, they will just sit then for months. The best thing for you to do is to find a windowsill that's not in direct sunlight, so not a south-facing one. East or west is really, really good, and put them there and leave them there, and don't move them because they just don't like to be moved at all for long periods of time. You can move them to water them, but you can't. Don't put it there for a month and then move it to another place for a month because it just won't like it. So leave it. Find a windowsill, east or west is best, where you can just leave it. Water it. With rainwater is best, but if you haven't, I use tap water and it doesn't put them off. Don't stand them in water. Just what I do is I collect them all in one go. I put them into my sink. I run water across the roots, probably for like 30 seconds to a minute for each plant, and then I leave them in the sink to drain, and then I pop them back. You can also get like a foliage mist sprayer that I use occasionally. I don't find it's brilliant, and you can also feed them as well, and they will produce new flower spikes. The main thing with the flower spikes is when the flower spike dies, don't be tempted to cut it all the way back to the bottom, because the new flower spike will just be really stubby. So it's best to cut it back down to about 1, 2 or 3 nodes from the bottom. The nodes are very obvious, they're like notches in the stem. So cut it back to 2, 3 nodes, and then you'll get then the new flower stalk will come out from that, and then you'll still get that nice long flower stalk rather than a little stubby one stuck in the bottom. Ross says, I'm from Telford. How did I not know about this event? You didn't know about the National Poultry Show? Well, you do now. So we should have a meetup. We should have a poultry meetup at the poultry show. That would be amazing. Escaping the Matrix for Good says, I hate butchering. I'm close to being a veggie, but we still do raise meat birds. Yeah, I'm not a fan of butchering. I think if you are, then you shouldn't be keeping animals. But sometimes, you have to do it, and I get into all sorts of debates with people about butchering pets. Mandy is here, so Budgie Mojo is here tonight. She says, hi everyone, could I begin to keep quail in a large indoor rabbit cage, 1 metre by 500 centimetres? How many would you recommend for a cage this size? 1 metre... I'm not very good with measurements. I think that's about the size of my rabbit cage that I've got, which I happily would keep 4 or 5 in. I would go for 4 if you can, 3 hens and a boy. And you could quite happily keep them in that all year long, actually. Yeah. So I would say 4. I'd start with 4, a boy and 3 girls, and see how you go. Because the other thing is, quails do create a lot of dust. So you don't want to get them too overcrowded, and you don't want to get too many, because you might suddenly think, oh, I can't be dealing with all this dust. So there we go. Liz is saying the National Poultry Show in Telford on the 1st and 2nd of December 2018. Maybe we should make a date. Robin says, is it 15 days to hatch quail? Yeah, 15 or 16. Yeah, 15 or 16. So lockdown, what, day 14, day 13, day 14? I like quail eggs because they properly rock. I've never seen a chicken egg rock. And, I've seen it move when they've started to pip, but quail eggs, even before they pip, they properly rock back and forwards. It's very, very cool. And that's on day sort of 15, 16 when they're coming out. Escaping the Matrix says my quails took 17 to 18. Yeah, so yeah, 15, 16, 17. I think actually, I think I was wrong then. I think it is actually 15, 16. No, 16, 17, but they can come out, obviously they can come out a little bit before or a little bit after, depending on the heat and humidity and things like that. So Gardening with AJ says, good news, I have tiny onion seeds popping up. Yay! That's great. I've never grown onions from seeds, so that's something I'd really, really like to try. I know that Brian at the Allotment Life swears by growing onions from seeds, so that's something I do want to try in the future. Susan St. James says, send me a ticket and I'll watch your dogs any day for no salary. Okay, right, we need to get an airfare for Susie. A Fringe Dweller says, apparently cigar cutters are good for opening quail eggs. Has anybody heard of that? I have not heard of that, actually. That might be a really good way of opening them because they are very fiddly. Marina, thank you. Kat is just saying a poultry show meetup would be awesome. Ross is saying, sounds good to me. The International Centre is only 10 minutes drive from your allotment. Perfect. Mandy, Buddy Mojo saying, thanks, get the indie going, get the inky going. I am. I know. I think I told you I was going to put it on. When did I say I was going to put it on? End of February? I'm going to put it on probably tomorrow and get those eggs in. Thomas says the orchid we had was dyed in blue. Was beautiful, but maybe that's why it's hard to maintain. The dye shouldn't have affected the actual plant. It would have just affected the colour of the petals. They can be hard. I mean, I rescue orchids. If I see orchids, because people buy the orchids and as soon as they finish flowering, they shove them out and they leave them by the dustbin. And if I see them left by the dustbin, I collect them and bring them home. But they can take a long time to rejuvenate. Octopus Crime. Octopus Crime. I keep thinking I'm saying it wrong. Octopus Crime says, when you do your quail vid, you don't mind showing how to clip quail feathers, as when I get mine, they will be outdoors. Yeah, sure. I'll happily do that. It's very, very simple. So yeah, I can happily show you that. Escaping the Matrix says, Pound Store has nice bags of onion sets at the moment for £1. Great. And Robin says, Jeff, do you have an allotment? I don't have an allotment. I hope you can all still hear me. I'm getting a bad connection report. Are we still connected? Robin says, do I have an allotment? I used to have an allotment, but I didn't like it. I know many people love having an allotment, but I'm not that, I might put out this air of being social, but I'm not that much of a social person. And I hated having to pack up a bag and prepare myself to go down to an allotment, to spend a few hours there and then come home. I hated it. I much prefer just being able to go straight out the back and potter. So allotments, I mean, I know some people that I love allotments, and they'll get up in the morning, they go to the allotment, they stay there for 8 hours because they love it. But it's not me. But yeah, so I did have an allotment, but not anymore. And Anna says, would you mind doing a video on how to clip hens' flight feathers, please? Or do you have one already? I don't think I have one. I will do one because Monkey has molted and is taking great delight now every day in flying out of the poultry yard. And she was in next door's garden yesterday because there's a lawn over there, so she'd gone over to the lawn. So I do need to clip her wings, so maybe she can be the little star of the show. My tea has gone completely cold. Let me have a sip of cold tea. So Kat says, the sound is okay, but I'm looking a little pixely. I don't know why. This is so annoying. So I have internet connection with Virgin Media, and it was really, really good until last year when they upgraded it to a faster speed. And ever since, it's been glitchy as hell. And I had somebody come out earlier this week, and they basically cleared the glitch up because the internet kept dropping out all the time. And they gave me a brand new box, and so it should now be working really well. And it has been working well up until this live, so I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's Saturday night and everybody around here is on the internet. Anna says, do I wash my hens' eggs before I crack them to cook them? I'm just curious. Mine are due to lay this April. I don't. If it's for my personal use, I don't wash any eggs. When you're selling eggs, you shouldn't. I mean, in the States, they wash them. That is, the guidelines are you wash your eggs over there. Over here, the guidelines are you don't wash your eggs. So I don't wash any eggs. I will sometimes dry or moist rub eggs for incubation, just to get some of the, the dirt and stuff out the outside. But I tend to take care of the nest boxes as much as possible. So in the lead up to the nest boxes, lots of sawdust. So when their little muddy feet come across it, it gets washed off, and then just turn out the nesting material at least once a week to keep it fresh, and then you'll get as clean eggs as possible, so you don't even have to worry about that sort of thing. Although obviously you will get the odd hen who will refuse to lay in the nest box and will just lay in the corner of the muddy swamp run. And then if it's for your personal use, wash it. Susie St James says, briefly, what is an allotment? So an allotment is a vegetable garden. I don't know the vast history of them over here, but they are like they're council run. So they're owned by your local authority in some cases, and in some cases they're like a private group. And they are basically little vegetable patches that you rent for a year. So they do them as a 10 rod, which is a full plot, or a 5 rod, which is a half plot. And normally they are long and skinny. So you'll have a central path, and then off the path you'll have all these skinny little vegetable gardens coming off. And obviously different allotments have different rules as to what you can grow. And what, if you can put sheds up and glass houses and things like that. But it was basically a way that people that can't or didn't have anywhere to grow food in the past could rent a little allotment to grow food. And nowadays, if people don't want to grow food in their back garden because they've got an ornamental garden, they can rent an allotment. And when I say rent, it's cheap. I think when I had our allotment, it was £35. So, what, $55 for a year. So it's a cheap way of getting a plot of land that you can grow food on. Kat is saying, at Liz Zorab, you know everything. Impressed. Liz does know everything. Liz is the fountain of knowledge. Gardening with AJ says, my tea is cold too. Off to the microwave. I know. I'm always putting my cup of tea in the microwave. Look, I've got my nice chicken cup tonight. Constantly going in and out of the microwave to warm it up. I need to get one of those. I did actually buy my dad one. You can get a USB cup warmer. So you plug it into your laptop and it powers the little pad to put your cup on, and it keeps it warm. I think I need one. Fringe Dweller says, would you ever have peafowl? Yes. I really want peafowl. I'm just laughing at myself because I say that I'm going to go and be a farmer and I'm going to be all business minded and I'm going to do everything for business and make sure it's all bringing money in. But basically, I'm just going to go and have a big animal farm because I just want one of everything. But I really do I love peacocks. I think they're beautiful birds, so I would love them. So yeah, watch this space. I would have them now if I could, but unfortunately no room. Let me scroll. Oh wow, I am to the bottom. I'm to the bottom. It only took me an hour and 8 minutes, but I've finally got to the bottom of the chat. So yeah, Liz is agreeing with me about those cup warmers. They do sound perfect. And Susie is saying they have cup warmers that use house power as well. So if you're not near a computer, you can also just plug it into a socket. That'd be handy. That'd be really handy. Patrick is saying, I really want peafowl. Went out to rescue 4 the other day, but they had me on the run around. And in the end, you found out who they belonged to, a stately home. Yeah, stately homes tend to keep them, don't they? I have a friend on Facebook who just has a normal garden. Well, a normal garden. It's not a big garden. It backs onto countryside, but he keeps peafowl in a huge aviary at the bottom. And I asked him about the sound because I was worried. We all know about the peacock sound. And he said, as long as you keep your peacock with hens in an enclosed space, they don't make as much noise, because apparently why the peacocks call so much, especially when they're on stately homes, because that area is so big, the peacock is often nowhere near the peahens, so he's calling to find out where they are. What are you doing, doggy? Whereas if you keep them in an aviary and they're kind of close together, because he can see them all the time, he doesn't call as much. I mean, it didn't completely convince me, because knowing my luck, you'd get them and then they scream bloody murder the whole time. But it gave me a little bit of incentive that actually they might not be as loud all the time as they're made out to be. And Octopus Crime says, you'll be wanting pygmy goats yet. I think all my friends desperately want me to have pygmy goats. I do want to have goats, milking goats, but I think pygmy goats might be pushing it a little bit. But I've definitely got 3 or 4 friends that are desperate for me to have some pygmy goats because they just adore them. Liz says, tell Mr. J that we need a white peacock so you can have one by proxy. Yes, get a white peacock. And Susie's agreeing that they're allowed. Kat is saying yes, she wants pygmy goats. And Fringe is saying, me too, love, my dream to keep them. They are gorgeous, gorgeous creatures. We have a taxidermy one, and it is absolute. Actually, we have 2. We have a peahen and a peacock. Fabulous birds. Escaping the Matrix says, pygmy goats are lovely to keep. And Mandy, so Buddy Mojo, says, I live near Epping Forest and the wild ones keep flying into the garden and shocked me the first time. Epping Forest, you are very near. I used to live in South Woodford, which backed onto Epping Forest, and I used to walk around Epping Forest all the time. Ross is saying, I believe allotments were created around the time of the Industrial Revolution so the poor could have cheap land to farm. Yes, I believe that is right, because poor did not have gardens which they could garden in. And then they came into their own during World War I and World War II as they were heavily supported by government subsidised rations. Well, that's good. I've learned something tonight. Anna says, how do you get your teeth so white? I honestly am stunned because I don't think my teeth are white at all. I hate my teeth. Because I think part of it has been this American smile thing, because obviously in America it's the done thing to go and have your teeth sorted, whereas in Britain it's not. And so I don't know, I just use a teeth whitener, and because I'm trying to reduce plastic this year, so I've stopped using normal toothpaste because it comes obviously in plastic bottles, and I now use a charcoal based toothpaste that comes in a tin can, so it's completely no plastic at all. It's brilliant. But thank you for saying that, because I didn't think they were perfect at all. I thought they were yellow and horrible. Just goes to show, isn't it, that you pick faults out with yourself, but actually other people don't see them at all. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. Octopus Crime said, I wanted pygmy goats, but my neighbours disagreed. I know that's the thing with goats. They are loud, aren't they? And Dan Robinson said, I've got 2 weather pygmy goats, and they're not that bad. Oh, bless them. I do love a weather. They're so cute. Gardening with AJ says, in other news, I have a hyacinth that is just about to flower. They are lovely. I can see yours in the background. Yeah. So these are the ones that came free with the trees that I got sent. So this started to flop over, actually. So this one has already flowered once, and it's just got a tiny little pink flower at the top. And then this one is the newer one, because obviously they forgot that second tree. So they sent another tree out, and they sent another hyacinth. And so this one's flowering, and this one has got a second bulb on it as well. So they're really lovely. And because I walk past here all the time, my desk is down here, the rest of the house is up there, I get this waft of hyacinth constantly. It's really, really lovely. Escaping the Matrix says, our pygmy goats keep the grass short and give us lovely manure for the veg. It works wonders. I bet it does. See yet more reasons to have them. And Susie St James, on the subject of the allotment, says we had community gardens called Victory Gardens during the wars, and they have lasted. Yes, a very similar thing. Very similar to the allotments then. Thank you, Marina. See, this is why I don't like to smile with my mouth open, because I'm very, very, I've forgotten the word, I've been talking too long. Conscious, I'm conscious of my teeth. So I hardly ever smile with my mouth open. And it actually wasn't until I started going on holiday to New York with one of my American friends who lives in just outside New York. She was like, you need to smile, show your teeth. And I started doing it a little bit more, but yeah, but thank you. That's a nice little pick-me-up. Ali Anderson, hello Ali, says, do you have any tips on polytunnels for veg? I don't, because I don't have a polytunnel and I haven't used one yet. I would love to have a polytunnel. Kat has a polytunnel, so Kat might be able to tell us some facts about polytunnels. Kat has a little polytunnel in her garden, so it's not a huge one. So I don't know whether Kat has got any tips. Do you, Kat? Ross is off for the night, so good night, Ross. Thank you for stopping in, and thanks for the quail info. He says that's no problem at all. If you want any info, just ask me. I am not the god of quail, but I will help you all I can. And Liz says, can you milk pygmy goats? I think they're actually African pygmy goats, and yes, you can. But I don't think they're great milk givers. I did look into it a little while ago. I've got a book on goats, and I think you can milk them, but they don't give you very much, and I think they dry up quite quickly. Gardening with AJ says, what do you do with hyacinths after they're flowered? So they will flower again. They're a bulb. So once they've finished flowering, put them in a cool but sunny place. So you can put them in a greenhouse, for example, and just treat them as another bulb. So whereas you would leave your daffodils in the ground and you leave the leaves on for as long as possible so they can absorb all that energy from the sun, do the same with the hyacinths. So the hyacinth leaves can absorb all that energy, fatten up that bulb, and then the leaves will die off. And then you can either just store them and leave them alone until the next year, and then what you'll find is the natural seasonal change will chill the bulbs, and then they'll come out in the spring when it warms up. Or you can take matters into your own hands and you can fake chill them. So once they've died off, you give them like a dormancy period. I think it's about 6 weeks, and then you can shove them in your fridge for a couple of months, and that simulates a fake winter. And then you can pot them up, start to water them a little bit, and they should flower again. That is very rough. If you want to know how to do it properly, I would go online. But from memory, that is the kind of thing that you do. But I'm not. I know it's about 2 months in the fridge, but I'm not sure how long it is. You just have to leave them after the leaves have completely died off before you do that fridge thing. Anna Williams says, hi, I need to worm my hens. Can anybody recommend what to use? I use, I've forgotten what it's called. It comes in a layer pellets form. So it's in the feed already. Oh goodness, what is it called? I don't know whether somebody might have answered. Let me scroll down. Flubum, yes, they're Escape from the Matrix for good, says, and Mandy says as well. So Flubumvent. Not all stockists hold it, and it's one of these, you can buy it from like farm shops and stuff, but it's one of these things you normally have to give your name and address and details for, because it is a medicated layers pellets. So you can use that. So I would just check with your local farm shops who stocks it, and find out. Now, I don't worm mine as a ongoing basis. I tend to worm them only when I see worms in the store. If you see worms in the store, then you know to worm them. If not, I don't tend to bother. You can do it sort of every 6 months or so, but it just depends on the ground they're on, whether you've got like a lot of worm eggs there already. What I tend to do is I use I'm forgetting, I've been talking too long now, so I'm forgetting all the stuff. I use a hygiene powder, Salazan F, and that kills worm eggs and oosts. So I use that as a preventative measure to stop worm numbers building up. So instead of having to buy loads of Flubenvet every 6 months and worm everybody, I try and prevent the worms from occurring at all. But yes, so Flubenvet is your perfect wormer. And I think, I can't remember whether there's an egg withdrawal. There's meat withdrawal, I think, for 2 weeks. There might be a small egg withdrawal period. I can't remember without looking at the packet. Dan is saying, on our farm, we're finding out how many of our 17 ewes are pregnant. Oh, that's so exciting. Do you know when they're supposed to be due? That's really, I can't wait to be doing this sort of thing. Let me just scroll. Anna is saying, haven't seen any worms, but I would like to use their poop and straw as compost. You can do that. I mean, I do that anyway. The worms are very obvious when they come out. You will see, I wormed mine because my Ixworth girls were pooping, and then there were these long, thin, coily white worms in it. So that is obviously a worm. I don't know where they picked it up from. So I dosed everybody with Flubenvet. But you don't, and you can still use the manure and stuff in your compost to break down. If you've got the ultimate compost heap with all of that heat in it, it should actually kill off the eggs. I'm not very good at composting, I must admit, and so I don't think I ever get that optimized heat to kill everything off. But I still use the compost and the straw. Mandy's saying there's no egg withdrawal. Yeah, so you're right. So Flubenvet, no egg withdrawal, but I think meat is for a couple of weeks. So good. Right. Octopus Crime is saying, is the dewormers for the chickens the same as the quail? I suppose so, but I have to be honest, I have never wormed my quail. Quail are very sturdy little beasts. They generally don't get ill. They injure themselves from flying into things, but I've never actually had ill quail. The only slight illness I had, because I had them in the aviary, they actually caught scaly face, which is a mite, and they caught it from the finches who'd been flying above. And that did affect them, and they kind of got these thick irises around their eyes, and it left a few of their heads scaly, but I treated it with just a bird, so not even like ivermectin for chickens, like a pet cage and aviary bird ivermectin, and it treated it. But I do find quail are very, very hardy little souls, so I have never actually wormed them. And I mean, I butcher them all the time, and I've never come across any worms in them, so they must be little hardy things. And Escaping the Matrix for Good says, I only withdraw the eggs because we like to be totally organic. Yeah, so obviously if you're worming and you're organic, then you're not organic with those eggs. Dan is saying the lambs are due in the middle of April. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to have sheep. I adore sheep so much. So from 17 ewes, have you got any idea how many you might have? I mean, this is the thing with flocks of sheep. You know, they can have twins and triplets, so you can double the size of your flock so easily. Right, everyone, we have been going for almost an hour and a half. So I think what I will do is, if there are any questions, quickly fire them my way, and we'll aim to wrap it up in the next, 7 or 8 minutes, so we're at an hour and a half. Because I need to go and heat up my tea as well. Gardening with AJ says, I bought my raspberry cane from Poundland. Poundland are great, they really are. Get so many cheapies. Will I have soft fruits at the farm? Definitely. I just haven't put in any more in yet because we're not there, so the birds will just eat them all. But yeah, I would love to have loads of soft fruit in a proper cage system, so the birds can't get them. Amir says it's really nice, feels like a really helpful community. Good, I'm glad, because that's really what I want to create, both here and on the Facebook group. It's just a community of very like-minded people. We can all help each other out. Marina says time flew by. It did. It goes really quickly. I always, when I do my little start, when I just update everybody on what's going on, I always think, oh yeah, I'm going to chat for ages, and it's done by 5 minutes. And they're like, oh goodness, what are we going to talk about? And then I next look at the clock, and we're like an hour and a half in. Susie says, nice chat, thank you. Octopus Crime says, thanks for all the time and effort. Loved this live chat. That's fine. I love hanging out with you guys, so it's not really effort for me. I like hanging out. And Marina says, okay, Jeff, I better get going to my babies are hungry. Have a wonderful day, everyone. You too, Marina. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful weather over in California. And yeah, so I'm going to say bye. Fringe Dweller says, thanks for the chat and hope to see you in Telford. Yes. So we will try and sort out a poultry meetup, because that would be super fun to kind of meet up in the poultry show. And also it'll give us all an incentive to go as well, because, you know, if I'm coming up to meet a load of you, it'll be really, really fun. And Anna says, I'm so glad I found a UK YouTuber because we all have the same weather too. Yes, that's very true. There are a lot of American homesteaders channels and they're all great, but we do things slightly differently in the UK sometimes, so it's nice to have a little group of UK peeps as well. Right, everybody, thank you so much for stopping in and having a wonderful evening with me. It's been a great chat. I've learned stuff. I hope you've learned stuff too. If you've got any questions, or if you think of any questions during the week, store them up for next Saturday. Oh, am I going to be around? I should be around next Saturday. And if you have a burning desire to ask questions beforehand, you can always come over onto Facebook. If you type in Brimwood Farm's community group, you should find us there. You have to request to join and I'll add you in. But if you have any burning desires, just come and ask over there. But thank you for all stopping in. Bye to everybody. I'll see you, I'll have the video Small Holding Diaries from this past week up tomorrow, and then we'll be into February almost. So see you later. Bye.